Yeah.
We were in Tunisia and doing some of the shots with C-3PO as the puppet. We were in the uh, underground area of Mars Homestead, and unfortunately, Tony fell as he was working the puppet. He tripped on something, fell over, and broke the puppet.
Oh my goodness.
And basically broke the legs. And because the legs are attached to the feet, the hips are attached to the actor's hips, and so forth, and so on all the way up. So we were able to pull him out. He was okay, but the puppet was broken. So we were looking at it, and George said, "Well, can you fix it?" I said, "No, the legs are broken."
One of the things that I sort of picture you have just from, I guess, everyday life, when you're working places that in any job, you tend to find people that you might go and sit at a bar and have a drink with after work and have a chat and what have you. Could you share, I guess, some stories of occasions perhaps when this sort of thing was happening and you've just had a close call that, it's not quite put, just getting the shot or just getting something together by having to maybe jimmy something up at the last minute? Like, were there many occasions where things were a bit kind of fly by the seat of your pants and afterwards you're probably having a bit of a laugh about it?
Oh, yeah, it's constantly, especially when you're on set, live action stuff. When we're doing the stuff at ILM, we had more time to prepare, and there were less of those kinds of things that happened. But when you're on set with actors and, a very tight schedule, you're just kind of making it up a lot of times as it goes along. And, so many times, particularly with R2, it's like we needed to get it through the shot, and something wasn't going, or wasn't precise enough. We just put it on a cable and pull it through the shot. We did that lots of times. What was really great about working in ILM was there was always somebody that had an answer. There was always somebody that knew how to solve a problem. There was like Warren Peterson, who was one of the original model makers. Warren Peterson, Steve Gawley. They were the original model makers from the very first film. They always had a solution to a problem, and if they didn't, somebody else did. So it was an amazing wealth of talent. And we're still all friends to this day. We try to get along, not in the current situation, but we get together occasionally and talk, and we have a great time. But we're all constantly just making it up. Try to think of anything. Well, at one instance that happened on episode 2, we were shooting the original intention with C-3PO in episode 2 was when you first see him, he's supposed to look like he did in episode 1, which is the skeletal puppet. And the way the puppet was done was it's a Japanese style of puppeteering called bunraku, where the puppet sits in front of the puppeteer, and whatever they move, however they move their arms, the puppet does the same thing. So we built that for episode 1 with a different puppeteer. The guy that ran the crew, a guy named Michael Lynch, was going to be the puppeteer for that. On episode 2, they didn't want to bring him to Sydney to shoot it, so I was going to puppeteer it. But I'm taller than Michael and Anthony Daniels as well, so it was going to be a lot of modification, and the puppet's so damn heavy. I'm like, I have to do this. Well, Anthony said, "Can I try puppeteering it?" And I said, "Certainly." And he said, "You're more than welcome to. Would rather you do it." And so he came when he got to Sydney. We put him in the rig, and he was amazing. He was a natural talent of puppeteering it. It looked totally like C-3PO as a puppet, and it was great. So he continued doing those scenes with the puppet, and then in the course of the story, he gets his skin put on. That's one of those shots that we're showing in the stills.
Yeah,
we were in Tunisia and doing some of the shots with C-3PO as the puppet. We were in the underground area of Mars Homestead, and unfortunately, Tony fell as he was working the puppet. He tripped on something, fell over, and broke the puppet.
Oh my goodness.
and basically broke the legs. And because the legs are attached to the feet, the hips are attached to the actor's hips, and so forth, so on the way up. So we were able to pull him out. He was okay, but the puppet was broken. So we were looking at it, and George said, "Well, can you fix it?" I said, "No, the legs are broken." I said, "Can you shoot it from the waist up?" And George says, "Yeah." So we just cut the legs off,
Yeah.
and they just shot it from the waist up to get the rest of the shots for the day, and that's how we did that.
I don't think I'd like to be the person responsible for breaking something like that.
Well, we fixed it later. But.
Yeah, of course. Now, I had a swag of questions here. I just wanted to try and see if I actually covered things. Let's talk about Pirates of the Caribbean, because these are also movies that I've got sitting up on my bookshelf back from when we used to buy DVDs and Blu-rays, which I don't know. Like, I mean, I think Pinterest is perhaps supposed to be kind of like a digital replacement, but I personally, one of the things that I have been, I guess, sad about, if you will, as we've sort of progressed, is that we don't have that kind of thing going on, which is probably better for the environment. But I always liked the concept of, going to somebody else's place for dinner or a catch up or something, and maybe for the first time, and looking at their bookshelf, and you kind of would get a bit of a feel for somebody's interest. You might see what CDs they had there or albums, and just that kind of you might just find out that you both happen to love Twilight or something, which I don't. But mind you, I did read the books. I'll be honest, I read the books, and I even put myself through the pain of watching the movie, because I was just really like I love books, and one of the things that books have always had over films, in my opinion, is the ability to share exactly what somebody's thinking, and even sometimes what the other people are thinking. So it's a bit more of a psychological thing. And that book, to me, the first one, is almost all that. And so then when you watch the movie, that's why she's kind of got this blank face, like, because she's trying to convey all these thoughts that the person's acting. I just thought it was a terrible idea to make that series.
It's so hard to translate successfully. I mean, very few books, I think, have been able to do that.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, so Pirates of the Caribbean, how did that all come about? And can you tell us some stories from that experience?
Yeah, well, I was there. Let's see, this was 2002. The people that were making the Matrix sequels, Matrix 2 and 3, decided to set up their own effects unit not far away from ILM, and stole all the ILM model makers for a little bit. And which is fine, because there wasn't a whole lot going on at ILM at that point. So I wasn't terribly interested in going and working on the film. We were all a bunch of people I knew, friends of mine, and that sort of thing. But I wasn't particularly interested in going there, because my wife was pregnant with my daughter, and I didn't. It was a farther distance away for me to travel to work, and so I turned down the job initially, like in April or something like that. So around June sometime, I get a call from Adam Savage of Mythbusters fame.
Yes,
and he was working on the film, but he called me. He says, I've got this opportunity to go shoot a pilot for a TV series. He says, but I need someone to replace me here. Would you come and replace me for 4 weeks while I go off and do this pilot? I said, sure. So I went for what was 4 weeks of what I thought was going to be 4 weeks of work. It ended up turning into 8 or 9 weeks of work, because after Adam shot the pilot for Mythbusters, he came back. We were all laughing. It's like, whoa, what a silly idea. That show will never work.
Right.
I stayed on for 4 weeks, and then I was itching to come back, to not be as far away from home. And they were going to work on Terminator 3 at ILM, and I was asked to come on to Terminator 3 as a chief model maker. So I said, I gave my notice at Matrix and I came back to ILM. Well, once I got back to ILM, then they said, we're not quite ready for Terminator 3 just yet, but they're working on Pirates of the Caribbean. Would you like to come? Would you want to work on that? And so they stuck me with that crew. And it was at that point, it was only 3 people, 4 people working on it at the time.